This video is to explain Gradient's DLP journey. We, as you can see on the screen, have broken this into a number of components, but what's really fundamentally important to begin with before I run through these areas for you is that the tooling conversation is very much at the end of this. We believe as a business that the understanding of your data, where it is, who has copies of it, etc., where it flows through the business is a far more fundamental piece around getting DLP correct rather than looking at a tooling aspect of this first of all, and then looking backwards into making the tooling fit to what you think you understand about your data. So for us, it starts at the very beginning. Now, as a business, we come into this from a number of areas. We come into businesses that have started their DLP journeys and are halfway through, or they've come up against pitfalls. Maybe it's new technologies, maybe it's diving into E5 and Purview from a Microsoft perspective. But we also get businesses that come into this from the very beginning, a real greenfield site where it's a chance to understand what we need to do and how we go about DLP. So we run a pre-sales workshop feature. This is a piece of free expertise and consultancy from us as a business. And it's an open forum conversation for people to come into these areas and ask the questions that they need to ask. What does good DLP look like? How do we go about getting started? What is the art of the possible for us as a business? This is where we are at the minute. What would you advise about doing things better from a perspective of DLP and my data? So it's a real good opportunity to sit with our experts here in the business and understand what good DLP looks like and ask those questions that perhaps don't always come to the fold. You don't always feel that you can get out there and ask them without being bombarded by vendor tooling conversations. So it's a real open aspect of anything goes from a data and DLP perspective. And then what we find from organizations that we deal with is they'll generally fall into two camps in the next kind of two sections here. Now, the next section here is a maturity assessment, which I'll come on to in a second. But there's also the step that you take from a data discovery point. So it really depends on where you are as a business in your DLP journey. Now, the maturity assessment piece here is a NIST-aligned assessment that gives you a snapshot of where you are right now in your DLP journey based around the pillars of NIST. So it looks at the structure of enhanced data protection. Where are you from a data protection point in regards to gaps in your business? Where are you missing things that could potentially give you a little bit of a better level of protection around your data? Where is your data and where is your business aligned to the compliance regulations that are important to you as a business? We'll show you those inside the reporting to give you the gaps and show you where you can do better aligned to that. Where's your risk-based prioritization currently as an organization? So where are you looking to prioritize investment and remediate tooling that you've already got? Where are you on that journey? And we'll help you show what that looks like. And also give you a viewpoint of what your roadmap of development looks like. Where are you hoping to get to in the future? What does that actually look like right now? What are those plans that you have in place and how could we better support those plans moving forward? And it also brings with it a level of confidence for the stakeholders and execs inside the business so that you fully understand where you are right now and where we can help to fill the gaps and make this a successful journey for you. Now, for businesses that haven't started their DLP journey, and it's quite a lot of organizations actually that are out there that we come across because business comes to the point where they start DLP and they've got zero idea of where to actually put the stake in the ground and really start that journey. But for us, for organizations that are really that early stages, it's fundamentally important to understand your data, where your data is from a structured and unstructured point, who has access to it, how many copies there are of it, when was it last used, what is that timeline of usage around that data, where are the duplications, and also where are the file permissions sitting around that data? Are they right for the organization at that time? Could they be remediated and changed and better managed? So this piece of data discovery work is all around the data and understanding what you have as an organization. And that's offered from a POC point of view, where we pointed at 100,000 files. That could be an Exchange server, that could be an S3 bucket, that could be any way that you'd like to point this POC to find data and give you a snapshot of what you've got at that time. And then this is delivered either as a complete data risk assessment, so a piece of work that scans your data, your full pool of data once, and gives you all the gaps and duplications and timelines of your data, and also shows you where it's benchmarked against GDPR, where it's benchmarked against ISO, where it's benchmarked against PII regulations. So you get a really good view of everything you need to know about your data. But it also then means you can look at it from a wider piece. So we run this as a managed service side of things as well. So you can take this as almost like a subscription-based model, which is constantly managing your data, constantly scanning that data and making sure that your data is in the best possible place it can be. And the good news is, as we remove duplicates, the cost of that model comes down through usage as well, which is a really positive play on this. Data discovery for me has a couple of other real fundamental pieces. If you're putting lots of data into a data lake, a Snowflake, for example, then actually removing that duplication is saving you money on those storage costs. I know these Azure storage costs, for example, are shooting through the roof right now. So that ability to drive that cost down has got to be a fundamental discussion inside of businesses right now. But there's also the ability to drive down cyber insurance costs. So if you know the risk of your data and you know what you're holding, you know where the damage could be potentially if the data got out, you're reducing that risk from an insurance point of view, and therefore your premiums come down. So these sorts of areas also kind of pay for themselves. The next step along this as well is our data classification piece of consultancy. So we can help organizations build out those buckets, those schemas, to understand what actually needs to go into public facing data, what needs to be in confidential, what needs to be in kind of secure, what are those buckets of information, what do they need to be, and what information inside your business needs to fit inside those. Because in order to build out good DLP, you need to be able to tag and classify and categorize the data correctly. And we can support that through the usage of AI tools, but also from really good understanding of what success looks like in this piece of work around classification. The risk assessment piece here is a real focus on your data in motion. So where is that data traveling through your business? What are those workflows of you as an organization? Who is touching this data on a day-to-day basis? And also, where is data fundamentally trying to leave the business? And that could be through traditional channels from email and web-based SaaS applications, but it could also be kind of good old-fashioned USBs and print. It could be a whole manner and ream of things here for us to help you understand where actually, if data left the organization, what are those golden nuggets that could actually cause you a lot of pain from a financial point of view, from reporting to ICOs, etc. So that's a really good piece of work that we do over a 30-day period, and produce a report off the back of it that you can take into the execs in the business and really help them understand where their risk is right now around their data. This one for me is a real fundamental piece, and it's interesting that it sits here because I think this can be done as a separate piece of work in its own right. This program foundation piece is building, as it says there, the foundations of good DLP. So we've spoken around the data and understanding that. We've looked at the schemas here and building out those classification buckets. We've understood where the data is moving, who's using it, where is it going, and where is it trying to leave the business. But from a program foundations point of view, what are the kind of fundamentals around it? Who needs to be involved in it? So which stakeholders in the business do we find are fundamental for this conversation? And we've mapped that out. What are those functional and non-functional requirements for most organizations? A kind of set of functions and non-functional requirements that fits most. There'll always be some that are specific to you as a business, but we've mapped up those kind of 80% of the ones that should be important and ones that would be nice to haves and ones that are really non-functional right now, but most businesses will have them on the radar on the map. And also, what is the timeline? What's the RACI for getting from no DLP to a delivery point where you're blocking policies and it's not producing loads of false positives and it's delivering a manageable amount of alerts for your teams to manage on a daily basis? The whole thing around DLP is to drive those alerts down to tens a day, not hundreds, not thousands a day for a SOC or seem to manage and instant triage all the time. You want to reduce that so the ones that are coming through are real actionable intelligence that you can work on. And it's only once we've done this that we're then able to look at the tooling aspect of this and advise on what we feel as a business is right for you as an organization. Now, it might be that you have purview in the business or you're looking to make that E5 jump, and that makes sense. And we can absolutely work alongside that. It might be that you're open to conversations around other enterprise DLP tools, because fundamentally the tooling pretty much does the same. There are some nuances from a purview point of view. But most tools will deliver DLP in a similar way, as long as you've done the work beforehand to understand your data, tag and classify and categorize it correctly, and provide the right foundations around that. Because fundamentally, once you get to this point, DLP is all around policy. It's around managing policies to deliver a low amount of false positives. It's about delivering actionable intelligence, and you only get that through detailed policy creation and the management of those policies moving forward. And this is a kind of sweet spot for us as a business. We do this for a large number of organizations and manage their policies effectively through the years. Now, once we've kind of deployed and built out the tooling, irrespective of what that might be, we then have some options around how we manage this. So we can hand it back to you as a business and allow you to manage your policies and create new policies as and when you need it. We can co-manage this, so we can take care of the policy management and kind of maintenance for you as the journey of DLP continues. So as your business evolves and changes, we can also evolve with your policies and keep that noise at a minimum. Or we can take this onto a full white gloves piece where we will manage the incident triage and response aspect for you through our kind of managed SOC capability and become that safety net underneath your business as far as DLP is concerned. So that is our DLP360 journey. Now, no organization takes all of these bits, but for me, there's some fundamentals. A pre-sales workshop, I think, is essential, just to have that conversation. What does good look like? Where are we right now? How can we make things better? What does that journey look like? We definitely need to have a look at the data, discover that, because there's going to be loads and loads of data that you guys have got no idea about where it is and when it was last touched. Does it even sit inside your retention policies as an organization? And I definitely think understanding the foundations of what good looks like and who needs to be involved, what's the timeline, what are those functional and non-functional requirements? Those are fundamental aspects of this. So I hope that explains the journey in a little bit more detail. If there's any queries or questions, then please do come back to us. And I look forward to speaking to all of you soon. Thank you.